Hi there, welcome to Liberated Badass Status. I'm so glad to be here, and I'm so glad that you are too. So I was out walking around this morning, and we're going on like 100-day plus of the quarantine, and fortunately here in Florida we're able to still go outside and I'm still able to follow my morning routine where I go a couple blocks over east to the ocean and walk up a residential street that is right in front of the ocean. And it's an interesting thing. So a couple of things have happened. Over the 100 days, there have been progressively more people outside. So I hear people remarking, oh, now that I have more time, I can be outside and I can be enjoying walking and exercising. So of course I chuckle to myself, being the observer of people and relationship connected expert person that I am. I've analyzed their behavior, right? And so of course we don't actually have any more time than we had yesterday. People have just found more time because they're not rushing around being busy. Got a helicopter going overhead here. And they now have time. They're now able to find the time to actually get outside and exercise and consider their health. So, okay, so I've seen an increase in the people outside, and we've got more bikers, more walkers, and more runners. So what I've noticed about them, I want to share a couple of my observations about folks. And today, I had this aha moment of, I turned the corner that I normally go down and I opened up to this street, the residential street that I love to walk down, and there are just people everywhere. And this has been the case for the last 100 plus mornings. And as I'm observing what's happening on the street, today I realized, oh my gosh, this is such a great metaphor for how we do life and how people do relationships. So a couple of observations specifically, right? We've got clearly people who have not been out here at all. That's pretty obvious. My area, we've got a handful of tourists, so that's normal. You would typically see people who aren't normally out here. But we've got an increase of people who are totally not normally outside exercising. And then you've got the people who, it's very clear they have no idea the rules of the road. They have no idea what side of the sidewalk to be walking on, what side of the street to be walking on, what side of the street to be running on, riding their bike. They have no idea. And I know this for several reasons. One, they're simply not following the rules of the road. And since I've been a walker for a hot minute, walker/runner for years, and my ex-husband was super into running, so he knew all the rules of the road. He was also super into biking, so I know the rules of the road and like which side of the street to be on based on which activity you're doing. So I've given that time and attention, and in the last 100 days I've actually come back outside. I've gone back to the computer to make sure I had the rules right because there was so much chaos going on in the last 100 days that I have been outside walking. So you've got the folks who clearly have no idea what's going on. And you've got the kind of folks who have no idea and they're completely unconcerned. Like they're just the bullies kind of the road. And they're just gonna like charge out down the street on either side. It doesn't matter, wherever they want to be. And they're doing it with like full confidence. I've got a lawnmower. I'm trying to do it outside to be like more fun, but then like of course I have difficulty with noise, so I'll take us on a little walk here. Anyway, they're charging down the street. They don't care what side they're on, and they're just like bound and determined to be going down the street. And you're usually walking a dog, or they're talking with someone, and so they're also like completely unaware of the rest of the people on the road. And then you've got the people who are like on their cell phones and they're walking, and the people who are riding bikes and talking to the person that they're riding bikes with, so they're also not paying attention whatsoever. and literally running into people, like literally running into people, or running into cars. Either way, like completely unaware, right? And then you've got the folks that are super accommodating, right? And I just imagine in the relationships that they're in, they're super accommodating. And so they start out on one side of the road, and then somebody's coming their way, and so they quickly pop over to the other side of the road. And they're like going back and forth, weaving in and out of the traffic of people, the sea of people, in an effort to stay out of everyone's way. And so they're like super accommodating, right? And I imagine that they're like that in their relationships, making way for whoever's coming. They don't want to get into a confrontation. And so they just literally try to stay out of view, out of conflict, and they're hopping around. And then you've got the bikers who like are completely unaware and riding right down the middle of the road. That's my favorite, honestly. Some that are singing, some that are just, I don't know, they're like not paying attention. So then you've got the car traffic flowing also, in addition to all of this pedestrian traffic. And then you've got the person that's like super rigid, right? And the person that's like the super type A personality that like has to have everything right and organized, which I know that person very well because like I have traits of that person. And so that person, it knows the right side of the road, right? Because they've actually looked it up. Their brain has told them they need to figure out which one is the right side of the road. And so now they know the right side of the road, but they're so rigid that they're like plowing down the correct side of the road. But they come up on people who are not on the right side of the road, quote unquote, and they get so flustered and they're like, oh my gosh, this inside their mind, I can just tell their eyes as they're coming up on the person, right? And they're, oh my gosh, this person is on the wrong side of the road. I can't believe it. And then they get huffy puffy and they like storm over to the other side, or they go big circle around the people to like really make it known, like you're on the wrong fucking side of the road. And then you've got, like the tourists and people not from this area, mostly overseas, who are in these big groups of people, and they're just chatting away, like totally loving being with each other, but completely oblivious to anyone else and completely oblivious to the rules. And they're just chatting away and kind of like moving in a herd down the road. All these different types of people. And so this morning I was like, oh my gosh, this is like such a great representation of how people do relationships and how we do community in general. So those people who have like no idea, right? They've like taken no time to like pay attention to the rules of the road and really like learn social skills and relationship skills and conflict resolution and problem solving and awareness and like the things you need to really know in order to have really great, successful relationships. And then you've got the people that are like so rigid that when something pops up in their way, they like get so flustered and frustrated that it's not going the right way, that they like can't deal internally with it. And it causes probably a lot of anxiety and a lot of frustration. And then you've got those people that are super accommodating, who like try to like fade into the background and just avoid conflict at all costs. And they're like dodging the road, right? And in relationships, they're like not, they're like the people that are super people pleasing, and they really just like try to move out of the way and not cause any conflict. Anyway, I just found it super fascinating this morning to like take all of that in and recognize how people live out their way of functioning in all their areas of life. So like that super accommodating person, no doubt, right, that person that's dodging and totally staying out of everyone's way, the way that they show up in life is going to be the same way. The same as that really super rigid person is gonna show up that same way in their life and in their relationships. where they get like super frustrated when people aren't doing it the quote unquote right way based on what they think is the right way. And then those people that are like the bully type of person, and they're just gonna like plow down the road and plow through life like really pretty unconcerned with what everybody else thinks and do their own thing without concern for other people. And I don't mean that like they don't care about what other people think. I mean that like they're not even taking into account some of the social norms and considerations of caring about other people and taking into account other people's needs and awareness of what's going on around them, right? They're just like plowing through life, period. And then those other people that are like completely like, their attention is somewhere else. And so they show up in relationships like kind of confused and bewildered and probably like really super not connected to people, really pretty distant from most people. And that person that you almost don't even know is like working in your building because they're so underground and so disconnected from people. Anyway, at the end of the day, it causes quite a bit of chaos, really, on the road. And I've had a lot of time to obsess over this and really analyze it and think about it, which I love doing because I am an observer and a studier of people, human behavior, and relationships. And I am like so obsessed with it and love helping people figure out how to do it better and make it more fun to live life by living in a harmony and awareness of other people around us, and being able to really function at our very best in community and in team. So I wanted to pop on, share some of my observations, some of my morning musings as I've been figuring out like how do I show up? Where do I represent? And how fascinating it is to watch this true belief that people truly show up the same way, whether it's in relationships or it's in walking down the street and figuring out how to walk outside with a bunch of other people. So sorry for all of the noise. There's lawn people and all kinds of things going on. I'm always trying to find the best quiet spot, and hard to do outside, especially in South Florida near the beach. So anyway, wanted to pop on, share some thoughts, and give you something to think about. How do you show up in life? And do you know what your pattern is, what your functioning role is in life, how you primarily show up, your primary role that you take in how you show up in relationships, in community, in team. And this is my specialty, the thing I love talking about and would love to talk with you more if you're interested in learning and if you're interested in improving your relationships. All right, talk soon.